Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my privilege to welcome you all to the February 20th, 2025 Guelph Police Service Board meeting. This is the open session. I would like to start by noting that we have a regret from Councillor Alt. And at this point, I'm going to call the meeting to order. As we gather, let us take time to reflect on our privilege to live and work in Guelph, a city built over rich Indigenous histories. We are guests here, and we should reflect upon the responsibility to care for this land, the people who live here today, and the generations to come. If our actions today can move us toward reconciliation, we should take pause and make those decisions with intention and gratitude. This place we call Guelph has served as the traditional lands and a place of refuge for many peoples over time. But more specifically, the Attawandaronk and the Haudenosaunee, this land is held as the treaty lands and territory with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Guelph lies directly adjacent to the Haldimand Tract and is part of a long-established traditional hunting ground of the Six Nations of the Grand River. Many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who have come from across Turtle Island call Guelph home today. Okay. First, I'd like to start by asking if there are any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. Hearing none, I will declare that item closed. Next item is approval of the agenda. If I can have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Member Armstrong and seconded by Mayor Guthrie. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now I'm seeking to approve the consent agenda. If any board member would like to pull an item from the consent agenda and add it to the discussion agenda, if we could do that before we pass the motion, that would. Vice Chair Armstrong, are you moving in favor?
No, I'd like to pull out the matter of the special duty fee. I just had a question on that.
Okay. Okay, could I have a motion then? Any other issues?
I can move excluding that, though. That'd be, yeah, happy to do that.
How about the amended consent agenda then?
That's good. Yep, I'll move that.
Thank you. Seconded by Mayor Guthrie. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. Next item is going to be the Chief's monthly update. So Chief Kobe, if you could please update us.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I see Leslie has her hand up. And Leslie, do you want to have a discussion about the item that Member Armstrong pulled before we do mine?
Yes, please. That's the way we should do it, since it was ahead of your update anyways. If you don't mind, then it'll just keep it cleaner for the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead. So that I guess my question is, I just wanted to understand how this revised fee is being calculated. It was 10% of, and I wasn't quite sure I understood what that calculation would be. So if I could understand that, first of all, that would help.
Sure. So currently right now it's a standing rate of that amount. And so right now, the standing rate for a pay duty is $35. So for a basic, so that includes whether it be the scheduling of members, finding people to participate, and rather than it being, and if you can imagine the logistics to get one person, one member to support an event versus a number of members to support, say, a larger construction project or something like that. So it's we're trying to have an appropriate administrative system to manage all that. And so now it's going to be a percentage of the overall cost. So if you were having an event that required one person and one vehicle, there's a different level of administrative work required to schedule versus if you had 8 members and 5 vehicles. So it's essentially for the most basic Pay duty right now, the cost is about 9%. It's much more subsidized, much less if you have a larger event or a larger members, say a large construction project or something like that. But there's a lot more work to schedule those members and all that stuff. So that's why it's just a flat rate of 10% for the overall cost of the requirement.
Right, but this will also be, I presume, for, say, not-for-profit organizations who are having events that require paid duty officers. Is that right?
Yeah.
So just so I understand, will this change in how the fee is calculated, will that result in a significant increase in the amount that they would be paying?
Well, it would so a basic event with, say, one officer and cruiser for 3 hours with no, say, liquor license or that type of thing, that rate now is about 9%. There'd be a significant increase if it's a large event that is 5 or 6
like
officers.
Over days.
Yeah.
Okay. But I take it then the change is being requested because you're not recouping your costs at the moment? Is that?
That's right. It's a cost recovery thing because we're trying to have a more automated way to manage all these requests. And it's to recoup the cost, to manage the system, to have scheduling, to get members available. We're not trying to make money on it. It's a cost recovery.
No, I understand.
And Daryl, do you have anything, if I have misspoken, or do you have anything to add?
It's just the administrative costs that we incur, as the chief described, and then we also have software costs for a program to administer the pay duty software program. So we do incur some costs there. So this is a cost recovery model.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mayor Guthrie?
Thank you. And I just want to, through you, Chair, I want to thank Jane for just maybe prompting a little bit of an additional question for clarity, if you don't mind. Is there any data that can be stated right off the top of someone's head here about how much of this does happen in the nonprofit charitable world versus the private, construction, that kind of world? Like, is it 90%, 10%? And I'm just wondering, like, how much. I'll stop there. That's my first question. Does anyone know what the ratio is around this?
So
regardless of the 9%, 10% fee, regardless, what's just the ratio roughly?
I anecdotally, the majority are more construction related events. Yeah. As far as but that would also include if we have a request from a school for a dance. But again, that's that smaller request, so the impact is quite a bit. The vast majority would be more construction related projects, but it would have an impact on nonprofit requests. But I don't know. Does anybody, Daryl or Steve, do you have the percentage to answer the mayor's question?
I'd be guessing, which I really don't want to guess what the percentage would be.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, I would just agree with you, Chief, in terms of, I believe the majority would be not related to charities, right? It'd be construction and the like. But I couldn't give you the exact percentage.
Okay. So can I throw out a scenario through you, Mr. Chair? The Santa Claus parade. Does that cost a bunch of money for the people that are the DGBA that's putting that on? Are they considered is what you're changing today and recommending to the board a substantial difference? I know it was 9%, now it's 10%, so I can assume it's not. But I guess I'm just trying to make sure. I'm just trying to make sure that events are community-minded events are not being burdened by this. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, because we want more events that are community-minded, right? So
that would be an example of an event, because there's so many members and vehicles deployed that they would see an additional cost versus, say, that standard event with one officer and one car. So that it's an excellent point. The percentage, it would all be depending on the number of people. But say, for example, like right now, currently large events that might require up to 5 officers for 3 hours with vehicles, they're only paying a 2% fee because it's a flat rate versus that individual event is paying a 9% rate because it's a flat rate. So it would be, you see, so it's a very minimal impact on the small events, while the larger events are mostly construction related. Or a good example, the Santa Claus parade, that would have a larger impact because it's no longer a standing rate, but a percentage of the overall cost of deployment.
Yeah. Huh. So I'm a little concerned about that. Does this have to be decided upon today? Could we do, like, I know you're trying to set the rates as of today, but is this something where we could get maybe more information on the impacts? Could we consider a deferral just for 1 month as we do a little bit of a deeper dive on that issue?
I would support that. I want to have a better understanding of what 10% means for, say, an event that has 3 or 4 officers, and versus what they're paying now. So I have an understanding of what the impact would be. I'm certainly not disputing the need to ensure that you're recouping your costs, but I think I also have to understand that we are providing special duty officers to a lot of different not-for-profits who may be doing fundraisers, and this I don't know, and this is what I understand is how significant an increase on that cost would be.
Well, and to give you an impact, so we can certainly defer it and come back with more. That's easy, no problem at all. And maybe if we're going to go that route, rather than me kind of going on with all this other stuff, if we know we're going to defer it, I'll come back to you, and we can have a broader discussion next month. That's very, very easy for us.
Okay.
Chief, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Go.
Thank you. Yeah. So if I have the floor, and then I will move a deferral on this based on the conversation. I think staff know what we're kind of looking for. Some more meat on the bones here of just trying to understand the actual impacts of current versus proposed. And if you could do some scenarios and outline some of that in the deferral when the report comes back, about just if we could put our thinking caps on a little bit, like how much is the Santa Claus parade? How much is Rib Fest? How much is, like, some of these kind of bigger type of community type events? I think that would be a good scenarios to outline in the report if you could take that away. And then I would also just add, Mr. Chair, that we do have the community account, and so, like, for instance, sometimes the city gets these types of questions like, I can't believe the fees to close the road for my really great community event are X amount of dollars. And what myself and councillors and staff often say is, what, we have a community well-being grants that you can look over here to apply over here to offset maybe that you might not get it, but you can at least apply. And I think maybe as long as there's also a discussion about, like, well, look at, if the board decides after this deferral comes back that, no, we have to set these are the rates, that's fine. As long as there's a nudge to the applicants that meet certain criteria to say, did you know we have a community account where you can make the case over here where maybe some funds can offset that, and that's at least people are being drawn towards another avenue to try to help offset a little bit. But again, I think all of us here don't know the degree of the offset even required. If it's $10, no one's going to care. But if it's $1,000, maybe we need to have that type of a discussion. So I'll move a motion just to defer this item until the next month with further information.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, I guess, would be the Chief's monthly update then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I have a relatively short, but I think a very important update to provide the board this month. For those of you who saw, there was a headline on February 14th in Guelph Today about a man who had been arrested for luring and assaulting two 13-year-olds at a hotel in our city. And we've discussed at length and recently with both the board and council. And we are committed to addressing the important issues of intimate partner violence and human trafficking in our city. We've said this a number of times, but tragically, these crimes are very present in our community, and we will do everything possible to ensure a proactive, collaborative, and effective approach to supporting victims and survivors, and we will hold offenders accountable. It's important, I want the community to know, we'll be hosting a number of public information sessions coming up in relation to intimate partner violence. March 20th, I believe, we'll send out a formal invitation, but March 20th, we're going to be hosting a public information session. And with all of our discussions in the last few months, both with the board and council, I wanted to thank and acknowledge your leadership and that of council in recognizing the impacts of intimate partner violence and human trafficking in our city and ensuring our citizens have the resources dedicated to responding, because our citizens deserve that, and the victims and survivors of these crimes, they need that. So I'll stop there in case there's any questions. I know Mel's available too, but I thought that was an important update to provide because we've had a lot of discussions about those important issues, as well as council's commitment in recognizing intimate partner violence in our city. So I'll stop there, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Kobe. Any questions or comments arising? Hearing none, we can move on. Next item is new business.
Got one more.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's right. And I just, in addition to that, so the community is going to see for the next, moving forward, they're going to see, we really want to start hosting and participating in as many possible important discussions to inform and insist. Certainly, you know, even we want to try to prevent and educate crimes from happening. And I think that comes with sharing information with our citizens. So in addition to hosting an intimate partner violence session on March 20th, May 1st, we're going to be hosting an information session for our community on topics related to internet child exploitation. So Detective Curry will, he does a lot of work in our community. We're going to try to host an education event for that. In May, we're going to be hosting an event on frauds, particularly many of those often target our elderly in our community. Police Week is coming up on May 10th. And we will be attending, and in fact, we've started attending in the last couple of weeks. A number of local community organizations have asked us to come and talk about these specific things and others at different community organizations, events, etc. So I want to encourage our citizens to visit our website, to go to our community policing webpage, and if there's an event or topic that you would like us to present on, please ask, because that's literally what we're for, and we really look forward to the opportunity to participating proactively to support our citizens and educate people on these very important topics so that we can prevent people from being the victims of, say, for example, a cyber fraud or something like that. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chief Kobe. Any questions or comments related to those further items? Hearing none. Next item is new business. Is there any new business? Hearing none. Our next item is advising that the next open meeting will be Thursday, March 27th, 2025 at 2:30 p.m. via Teams meeting, live streamed and on YouTube. At this point, I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Mr. Sharma, seconded by Ms. Armstrong. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everybody.